Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's pick a pile reading is all about how everything is going to change for you. There are 3 piles for you to choose from. From left to right we have piles 1, 2, and then 3. Then the timestamps for each pile will be in the description below. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. The energy of hope sets the foundation for what's coming, and it's more than wishful thinking. This card shows that even in the middle of disappointment or emotional weariness, something inside you hasn't let go. There's a spark that's maybe small, maybe quiet, but it's still there. That spark is guiding you toward a new reality that looks nothing like where you've been. Change is coming not because you demanded it, but because you believed it was possible, even when there was no proof. This moment is about realignment, about reconnecting to a sense of purpose or faith you may have drifted from. And the reason everything is about to change is because that hope you've been carrying, it's about to be met with something tangible, a shift in circumstances, a door that opens, a conversation that alters your direction. The feeling you've been waiting for is starting to take form. Hope isn't passive, it's an act of quiet rebellion against giving up. And now, that quiet choice you made, to still believe, is setting major shifts in motion. You're coming out of something that drained you. The grief, the regret, the feeling of being stuck in what was lost, it's loosening now. Reversed, the 5 of Cups marks the moment where your eyes start to shift forward again. You've spent enough time looking at the closed doors, replaying what didn't work. Now you're turning toward what still stands, the love, the resilience, and the future that didn't disappear just because your plans did. This shift doesn't mean the pain didn't matter, it means you're no longer letting it define you. Something inside you is ready to look up, to look ahead, and to stop watering what can't grow. And that choice is what changes everything, not in one dramatic leap, but in the consistent decision to see what's still possible. The energy here says you've cried the tears, you've felt the loss, but you're not meant to live in that place forever. There's something or someone new approaching, and you'll only recognize it if you're facing forward. There's a hesitation here, a fear of stepping into the next chapter, even though you're being pulled toward it. Judgment reverse speaks to self-doubt or perhaps a reluctance to fully own your growth. You may be downplaying how far you've come, questioning whether you're truly ready for what's next, but the message is clear. The next level of your life isn't waiting on them, it's waiting on you. You're being asked to release the old identity, the one who had to survive, who had to prove, and who had to carry the weight. That version of you did their job. But now you're allowed to evolve. This card also speaks to the need for self-forgiveness. Maybe you didn't get everything right. Maybe you've made choices you're still trying to reconcile. That's human, but it's not a reason to stay small. What changes now is your willingness to stop looking at your past as a life sentence. You're allowed to rise, you're allowed to begin again, and this time from a place of self-trust, not self-blame. Here's where things begin to stabilize. In your outer world, yes, but more importantly, in your sense of self. The King of Pentacles represents security, long-term success, and confidence that doesn't waver based on other people's behavior. You're stepping into a phase where you're building not just for today, but for the future, financially, emotionally, and energetically. This change won't be flashy, but it will be powerful. You're becoming more intentional with where your time, energy, and resources go. You're starting to move like someone who knows they're building something that lasts. And as that energy settles in, people and opportunities that match that level of groundedness begin to appear. Everything is about to change, not just because you're attracting more, but because you're embodying more. This isn't about chasing, it's about owning your space and letting the right things meet you there. You're stepping into a period of deep creation and nurturing, not just of projects or relationships, but of yourself. The Empress shows that everything you've been cultivating internally is about to show up externally. There's growth happening in every area, emotional fulfillment, beauty, abundance, and connection. And it's not just because you hustled for it, it's because you nourished it. This energy is soft but powerful. It tells you that more you tend to your inner world, your joy, your peace, and your creativity, the more your external world starts to reflect that harmony. This is a reminder that you don't have to force anything. Your energy is magnetic when you're aligned. What changes now is that you stop waiting to feel ready. You are ready, not to push, but to receive. The life you want is already responding to the version of you that finally believes you deserve it. You've been holding on to hope, but it's been quiet, fragile, maybe even flickering. The star reverse doesn't mean the dream is dead. It means you've been disconnected from your belief in it. Maybe you've been let down before, maybe you're tired, but this card says the dream hasn't left you. It's just been waiting for you to believe it again. This is your spiritual reboot, your reminder that just because something didn't happen the way you thought it would, doesn't mean it's not still unfolding. The healing, the opportunity, and the guidance, they're still active, still working, and still real, but to see it clearly, you'll have to reconnect to your vision, not the one shaped by fear, but the one shaped by truth. Your future self is whispering, don't give up 5 minutes before the breakthrough. What's coming isn't just a shift, it's a return to belief, and once that returns, everything else follows. Everything is about to change for you, not just because the world is shifting, but because you are. This is the moment you stop looking back, stop waiting for proof, and start claiming the life that's been waiting for you to believe it's possible. You're not hoping anymore, you're becoming, and that changes everything. So that's what I'm getting for pile 1. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello, pile 2. Welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. The energy of emotional loss doesn't sugarcoat things. Something here hurt. This card acknowledges a moment, a connection, or a truth that was hard to face, and maybe even harder to release. Whether it was a betrayal, a breakup, or a disappointment, or just the painful recognition that something wasn't what you thought, it created a ripple. You may still feel the echo of that grief in your body, even if time has passed. This reading doesn't deny that pain. Instead, it holds space for it, and then gently points you forward. What's changing now isn't the fact that the loss happened, it's your relationship to it. You're beginning to realize that healing isn't about erasing the impact, it's about remembering who you are after the impact, and that's where your power is returning. Everything is about to change, not because you're over it, but because you're finally stepping out from under it. The light you couldn't see while you were inside the pain, it's been waiting for you just beyond the edge of it. There's a layer of deception here, and it may not have come from outside. Sometimes the hardest betrayal is the one where we lie to ourselves. You might have ignored red flags, minimized your needs, or convinced yourself that something was okay when deep down it wasn't. This card calls it out, not to shame you, but to wake you up. This moment is about reclaiming your truth. You're no longer available for half-truths, strategic silence, or pretending. You've seen behind the mask, theirs or yours, and now you can't unsee it. That realization might have hurt, but it also cracked something open, clarity. And with clarity comes power. What's changing now is your tolerance. Your standards are rising. You're no longer settling for less than honesty, and in making that choice, you clear the path for something real. Now, there's been a lack of a spark in your life, emotionally, creatively, maybe even spiritually. The Ace of Wands reverse shows that something was either delayed, denied, or never got the ignition it needed. You may have felt stuck in a rut, uninspired, or unable to start fresh even when you wanted to, but this card doesn't mean the opportunity is gone. It means the conditions weren't quite right until now. This shift is internal first. The fire returns when you stop trying to reignite what no longer has fuel and start focusing on what actually excites your soul. That might mean shifting direction entirely, or it might mean giving yourself space to reconnect with your why. The spark is still here. It's just buried under fatigue and unmet desires. Change is coming in the form of renewal, but it won't come from pushing harder. It'll come from listening more closely to what your spirit actually craves, and then giving yourself permission to pursue that. The pain has been deep, but the release is beginning. Reversed, the Three of Swords shows that you're no longer as tangled in the grief as you once were. The edges of the wound have softened, and you're starting to see that you can carry the memory without letting it bleed into your present. That's healing, not forgetting, but releasing. There's a tender message here. Give yourself credit. You've made it through something that broke you open, and even though the scar is still fresh, you're not as fragile as you think. You've felt the lowest lows, and now, piece by piece, your emotional landscape is clearing. Everything changes when the pain becomes part of your story, not the whole plot. And you're at that moment now, the part where you shift from hurting to rebuilding. This is rock bottom energy, but when it's reversed, it means the worst is over. You've hit that wall, you've faced the collapse, and now something in you is saying, I can't stay down. This isn't about bouncing back quickly or pretending it didn't happen. It's about rising because staying down no longer feels like a match for who you've become. There may still be echoes of betrayal, burnout, or despair, but they don't hold you hostage anymore. You faced the dark and lived through it, and that survival is now shaping your strength. You're seeing yourself differently, not as someone who was defeated, but as someone who didn't quit. What's changing is your energy. The victim story is crumbling, and a new one is forming, one where you're the person who rose, quietly but completely. The period of hesitation is ending. The crossroads you've been stuck at, the decisions you've been putting off, the truth you've been trying not to see, it's all coming to a head now. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's freeing. Reversed, the Two of Swords signals that clarity is forcing its way through the fog. You know what needs to happen. Maybe you've known for a while, and now you're realizing that not choosing has been its own kind of pain. The indecision has kept you stagnant, but this card says you're ready. Even if the next step feels scary, it's better than circling the same emotional drain. Everything changes when you choose, even if it's messy, and your soul is ready for movement, not more analysis. Everything is about to change, not because the pain is gone, but because you're no longer defined by it. You're choosing truth over illusion, action over paralysis, healing over hiding. This is the moment you reclaim your story, not as the person who broke, but as the one who rose anyway. So that's what I'm getting for pile 2. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello pile 3, welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. Discontent and boredom is often misunderstood. It's not about being ungrateful, it's about outgrowing a version of your life that once felt stable but now feels stale. You've been doing the responsible thing, showing up, maintaining the routine, but something inside you has been quietly whispering, this isn't it. You're not wrong. This feeling is a signal, not that you're failing, but now you're ready for expansion. There's a restlessness here, a tension between what you have and what your soul is craving. You might be surrounded by stability or routine, but feeling emotionally or spiritually underwhelmed. The message is not to blow it all up. It's to start asking better questions. What lights you up now? What are you no longer willing to tolerate? Change begins with noticing where the joy has leaked out. Everything is about to change because you're finally acknowledging that fine isn't enough. You're ready to trade predictability for passion, and that shift in awareness is the spark that alters your entire direction. You've worked hard to get to this level of stability, financially, emotionally, or energetically. The King of Pentacles reflects someone who knows how to build, sustain, and lead. You've likely been the one others lean on, the dependable force, the grounded presence, but even in this strength, there's a deeper message. Are you letting yourself enjoy what you've built? There's a difference between being secure and being fulfilled. This card celebrates your discipline, your wisdom, and your commitment, but also gently nudges you to ask if you're using that power for you or just holding everything together for everyone else. You don't need to abandon the foundation, but you do need to make sure it's still yours. This is a moment of self-reclamation, the kind of shift that doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but internally changes the entire way you approach your future. Tension is bubbling, either in your external environment or inside your own mind. The Five of Wands shows competition, chaos, or clashing agendas. You may be juggling conflicting desires, comfort versus growth, stability versus adventure, others' expectations versus your own truth. It's not that anything is falling apart, it's that you're being pulled in too many directions and something has to give. This isn't about drama, it's about listening. What part of you is trying to speak but keeps getting drowned out by obligation or overthinking? The internal noise is real, but it's not meant to paralyze you, it's meant to clarify you. This is the friction before clarity, the resistance that sharpens focus if you let it. Everything is about to shift because you're no longer avoiding the conflict. You're stepping into it, letting it reveal what truly matters, and releasing what doesn't. Here's the breakthrough. The Ace of Swords is truth cutting through the noise, clarity piercing the fog. A realization is coming, or already has, that shifts your entire mindset. You see something differently now, a relationship, a role, a belief you've held for too long. It may be uncomfortable, but it's also empowering. You can't pretend you don't know anymore. This clarity might arrive as a conversation or an unexpected insight or maybe a sudden internal click. And once it lands, it gives you the language and the courage to speak more directly, act more decisively, and own your mind. You're no longer accommodating stories that dilute your truth. What changes now is your internal authority. You're not waiting for permission to shift. You're claiming your vision and moving with precision. You're releasing the need to win battles that don't matter. This card reverse shows a deep internal shift, walking away from power struggles, dropping the defensive stance, letting go of the need to be right or prove your point. Maybe you've been entangled in ego-driven dynamics, not out of malice but out of survival. But now, your peace matters more than being right. There's maturity here, the kind that doesn't come up from age, but from experience. You've learned that some victories aren't worth the cost, and some conversations drain more than they deliver. You're learning to pick your battles, not out of passivity, but because you finally know what's worth your energy. This shift marks emotional liberation. You're not playing small, you're just not playing at all in games that no longer serve you, and that frees up space for something truly aligned. This is where you're heading: legacy, stability, and fulfillment that lasts. The Ten of Pentacles is the long game. It reflects community, security, and abundance that doesn't just serve you, but ripples outward. You're moving into a phase where what you build will last, and the decisions you make now are lying in the foundation for that future. This isn't just about money, it's about meaning. You're creating a life that fits not just your bank account, but your values. The reward coming your way is solid, not fleeting, not unstable, but deeply rooted in the work you've been doing both inside and out. Everything is about to change because you're finally aligning your choices with your future self, the version of you who knows exactly what kind of life they're building and isn't afraid to claim it. Everything is about to change, not because you lost control, but because you're finally taking it back. This is the shift from burnout to purpose, from noise to clarity, and from endurance to expansion. You're no longer settling for what's predictable, you're ready for what's yours. So that's what I'm getting for pile 3. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time.